Alright, so this video has been a long time coming. I mean, it was a long time coming with the two most recent Pokemon generations, starting with Sword and Shield. I have been feeling myself wanting to make this video. As such, it's just going to be me on Miraidon on different locations of Paldea with some other footage as well. But between how brazenly obviously rushed the new games have been feeling, and now the sheer mismanagement things are becoming, I just feel I had to make a video explaining my growing frustrations with Pokemon, Pokemon Company, Game Freak, and the franchise as a whole. Alright, let's get started.
Is there more to us than the words we say? The games we play, can we know that we're not dreaming?
Alright, so let me just start off by saying I'm not angry, I'm frustrated. Emphasis on the word frustrated with how the franchise is going these days. It all started subtly, but began growing starting with Sword and Shield. First with how bland the graphics looked in the overworld and how bare bones the world felt in terms of how large it was supposed to feel. Like, I know I'm beating a dead horse, but that tree in the overworld is just the picture for how rushed the game felt. Like, they could not have found a better texture for all the copy-paste trees in the wild area after how many years in development the game was? Even a few months before release? It would not have taken more than a week. Heck, modders changed it and did a better job after just a few days after the initial release of the game. And the wild area, don't even get me started on the wild area. If you're alright, it's alright. But, like, if you're offline, it's fine. But online, don't tell me you did not feel how laggy it was when you were playing online in the wild area for Sword and Shield. I deliberately avoided the wild area when I was going online. Between time stopping when you climbed a ladder in the world, everything just feels like instead of going on a journey, you were just walking down a straight path from one town to another. It was just a straight linear path from start to finish. Even the side branches seem to lead you right back to the path. But, you know what? That was last generation. That was the last generation. Let's talk about this generation. Glitches, bugs, and overworld lag offline from day one. I fortunately avoided seeing most of the most notable ones, but I still saw them. The more common ones that nearly everyone experiences, however, I still feel them every day. Massive frame rate drop on Lake Cassiopeia unless you wiggle the camera around to get as little in view as possible. The background terrain glitching in and out of existence in the distance. Shadows forgetting how to exist from one moment to the next. The terrain just morphing and molding as you approach or leave it. And of course, who could forget Pokemon appearing in the walls? Yeah, who could forget that? Many of these issues are still a thing despite all of the patches, or at least what few patches we've gotten in the last few months. You know, online performance is acceptable, but there are even glitches and bugs in that area too. For example, Dondozo's infamous move Order Up being able to apply its secondary effect despite hitting moves like Protect or hitting a Pokemon that is immune to its typing for months before it was revealed to have been a bug that didn't get patched out until after a Pokemon regional competition had passed. And I think maybe even a second was also of it done. Now we get into more recent frustrations. First with the cancellation and rescheduling of certain Tera raid events, specifically Iron Treads and Great Tusk, as well as the repeat 7-star Chestnut raid. While I don't really care, I would have liked to have gotten some free Tera shards from them. But due to a bug in one of the items causing game crashes, both Tera raids had to be pulled. One of them wasn't even causing problems, but was pulled anyway, specifically the Chestnut raid. No one was having any problems with that, but they pulled it anyway. Now, I don't know if you can hear it, but you can just hear the frustration in my voice. These are growing layers upon layers of issues I'm having that should not have been there to begin with. Half of these issues could have been fixed if the games had been delayed for just a short while longer, or even another year. But because of strict release schedules, they had to be shipped out with them, and ruining an otherwise decent or even positive gaming experience potentially for a player. And as for the other half, these are issues that could have been dealt with just basic, and I mean basic playtesting. A day or two of playtesting these Tera raids, for example, to ensure there are no issues, would have found these issues quickly, and they could have been dealt with swiftly before the events went live. Now, I will admit, I do not know how the Tera raid events work when it comes to them pushing them to live, but if there is anyone whose job it is to playtest and make sure they don't crash, for example, the moment someone enters them, then that should have been done for every Tera raid event. These two, most recently, as a case in point of why they need to be playtested before the event goes live. Instead of patching the issue out and then allowing the event to continue with an apology, or even restarting it after fixing the issue so that people can participate in the event, they pull it entirely, and now they have to reschedule it, throwing out their other events in the timeline. This could all have been avoided with simple playtesting and patches. I'm not a professional developer, but I know that this is sloppy on Pokemon Company to let these issues not just slip through, but brazenly walk on through without stopping them. And the fact that their only response to this is just to pull the event, no patches, no restarting the event with a fix, nothing, just a we'll do it again at a later date, makes it feel like people who made and are running this game are very incompetent. Which leads me into my next frustration, the home update. Originally, home only allowed transferability into Sword and Shield and Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu starting in February of 2020, which was 3 months after Sword and Shield was released. But when home did come finally to the Switch, we could finally get access to Pokemon from previous generations. Specifically, 35 previously unobtainable Pokemon could now be transferred into Sword and Shield from other games, such as Bulbasaur, Squirtle, Mewtwo, Celebi, but more importantly, Pokemon like Rowlet, Litten, and Popplio from the previous generation. This was 3 months after the release of the games. We had transferability for past Pokemon to the present generation 3 months after the game was released. Then, when the Isle of Armor dropped 4 months later, so 7 months after the first game, after the game's initial release, we were able to access and transfer 2/3 of the roster we now have access to in Sword and Shield. And then, in 4 months, when Crown Tundra dropped, which is 11 months since Sword and Shield were released, we had home compatibility for all the Pokemon in the generation that we were allowed to at that time. Now, we are 6 months since the release and still waiting on the home update. A week ago, we got confirmation from Pokemon Company that on May 24th, which would be tomorrow as of me releasing this video and me recording this video, etc., we would have had access to the home update. allowing us to bring Pokemon from the past gens to Scarlet and Violet at long last. And the hype was real. The hype was seriously real. Everyone was super excited about it, myself included. Everyone was excited for this update. I had a big collaboration with another Twitch streamer for a big Hisui Pokemon giveaway. I was already starting to give my Pokemon from the past generation passports so they could arrive in Paldea. I was going to throw a big viewer battle stream to welcome everyone back. And then, 24 hours later, we get told that this was a mistake. And we were still not getting home anytime soon. That really pushed my limits and pushed my button. Now, I know Home isn't operated by Pokemon Company. It's developed by ILCA, but Pokemon still publishes and can still communicate with them. And here is why. The why it pushed my button so much. The way they phrased it, in my eyes, had two possibilities, and neither of them are positives. Now, possibility A. If they said this because they suddenly found something that was going to cause a massive problem, maybe a save game wiping error, and they canceled it to work on the issue, then their silence about why they had to take back what they said implies utter incompetence in regards to their lack of communication with their fans. If they simply explained there was a problem, apologized for jumping the gun, and saying they had to pull back what they said so they could fix it, then we could forgive them. But they haven't said anything, so this leads us to possibility B. If this was just a typo error and they waited 24 hours in order to correct it, then whoever is controlling the Twitter account is doing a very poor job of relaying information, because they still left the tweet live, giving false information without correcting it. And their only response was to say, "Oops, we made a mistake. Keep watching us for more information though," without ever actually providing more information. Further implying how incompetent Pokemon is being handled recently. The sheer lack of communications, the sheer silence, is my final frustration I have for this video. I can understand silence to build suspension and hype for a game's release, as well as to build mystery prior to being released, but after release, they shouldn't be so quiet, especially when they suffer issues and setbacks that affect their customers. I pay a yearly fee for Home. I should be able to, at the very least, transfer my Hisuian Pokemon from Legends Arceus at least a few months after Scarlet and Violet's release, considering Legends of Arceus was released a year before Scarlet and Violet. I should not have to wait this long for a date to an update. They said it was slated for early spring. It is almost June, my time. It is almost the beginning of summer for me. The last time I saw snowfall was in March, and it only lasted one night. They talked about backwards compatibility, and if that's the case, it is cool. That is something that has not been done since Gold and Silver for Red and Blue. And if there is an issue that might ruin my save, make me lose my Pokemon, etc., because this is such a new feature that it hasn't been done in over 25 years, I will happily wait an extra month or even 2 months so they can make sure it's safe and stable and won't hurt me. But the silence, the fact that they won't even explain why it's taking so long, The only thing they can say is, watch our page, look at our page, or just soon, is what's getting under my skin more than anything. Now, a viewer told me that this is not something to get upset over, but I countered with a very good reason to be upset. I paid for this service. Yes, the service is very cheap, but it is still my money that I worked for, that I gave them for this service. As a customer, I expect a certain level of service. I am not asking for much. I can wait. Just explain why I have to wait. Why the delay? If you won't explain that, then give me a date, a time frame, a month. Anything besides silence and vague, it's coming soon, please watch our page for more information. And don't tell me it's coming early spring, because it's been early spring. It has been spring for the past 2 months. It is almost summer. How much longer am I going to have to wait? Just to put it into perspective, I'm going to use Stray Fawn Studio and their game that I started playing and enjoy very much, The Wandering Village. This indie dev team of about 10 people from Switzerland are talking about a water biome update. I could go onto the Steam forums and ask for an update on how close they are to releasing it. And, while I might not get a straight answer, they will probably politely point out the little shorts they have on their YouTube to show the progress. And that is 1,000 times more information I'll get from emailing the Pokemon Company. An indie dev team does better communications with its audience and fans than a multi-billion-dollar franchise company who can't even put out a tweet saying, and this is hypothetical, we're sorry, we made a mistake, we ran into a problem with X, and so we have to delay the update. Please be patient, we'll get it out as soon as possible. If they communicated, talked to their audience, simply explained themselves in even the smallest detail, all of these frustrations could be placated and especially forgiven. I'm really, really sorry for the rant in this video that I'm giving. Honestly, I did not want to make this video, but it was a long time coming and I had to vent about my frustrations. It hurts me more as a fan seeing how badly mismanaged this franchise is becoming because I love it so much. I have had so much joy, so many memories with Pokemon. Not just myself, but with my family, my sisters, my friends, viewers, etc. And because I love it so much, I can see just how good it could be. I could see how great it could become. Imagine if Scarlet and Violet had been given just another 6 months to be worked on. Imagine how much better it could have been. I've seen so many of my favorite franchises fall and die, just rotting and becoming shadows of what they were, and I do not want to see Pokemon follow that path. Just to use another game as an explanation, Overwatch is suffering a huge identity crisis and has become nothing more than a free-to-play cash grab than what it was first starting out. I played Overwatch thanks to a friend buying it for me, and I loved every minute of it. I thanked him so much. I played as much as I could, but then it started dying. Now I don't even want the game in my library with how bad it is. I don't want to see Pokemon become that. I'm not frustrated because I hate Pokemon. I'm frustrated because I love Pokemon and I just want what's best for it. Just as another example, Tears of the Kingdom, which was recently released not a few days ago, took 6 years to make since Breath of the Wild. And you can just look at how beautiful and how smoothly it is running if you have it yourself, if you've been playing it. I am not hearing about massive glitches and bugs and frame rate drops, enemies stuck in the walls day one. Or maybe there are issues and I'm just not hearing about them. but it's a tale of two different worlds. For those who say the Switch can't handle what Pokemon is trying to do, they only have to look to Breath of the Wild and Tears of a Kingdom to see the difference of what delaying a game can make in terms of how a game looks upon release. Because Tears of the Kingdom was delayed, and Pokemon Scarlet and Violet were not delayed. That's it for me. What are your opinions? Comment down below, like the video if you agree with my frustrations, or even dislike if you don't, or just, ignore my video entirely. It's your choice. I'll see you all next time. Take care of yourselves, everybody. I love all my viewers. And again, I apologize for this ranty video. I just had to get it off my chest. I had to get it off my chest so much. I'll see you all next time. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.